Hi, my name is Jamie Newcomer, and I am going to be presenting my ePortfolio for Education 325. This is my home page for my ePortfolio for my children's literature class. My first page is on my reader response blog. Here I have the link to my reader's response blog, and I talk about what I have included in it. During this class, my group and I read 11 books and discussed different ways that we would use them in our future classroom, what our dislikes and our likes were about all of these books and the different categories that these books were in. This is my reader response blog. Here we can see the site, and it goes through each category and has 4 parts. One is the book or books that were in it. The second is my thoughts and feelings on the book. The third part is a critique of whether or not the books went over the categories that we were in and whether or not we thought they were good to be used in the classroom. And the fourth was incorporating them into a lesson and creating an objective for that lesson and outlining what that lesson would look like in our classroom. I felt that this was both the most useful part of this lesson or activity and also the most difficult, because there were some points where I was finding it really easy to create a lesson, and there were some books that it was really difficult to create a lesson for. One of my favorite lessons that I created was this book called This Is Not My Hat. I really connected with this book. It was one of my favorites that we read. And here I had the objective after reading This Is Not My Hat. The student will be able to write 3 sentences that go along with the last 3 pictures in the book and finish the story. In this book, the author ends with 3 pictures instead of words to finish the story, so I thought it would be a good writing activity for them to complete the story in writing by observing the pictures, and also a good way for them to visually analyze a picture and create a story based on that. There were others that I found more difficult, like Freak Boy, because that one was a book that I felt would be typically banned in most books because of the transgender issues. I felt that it would oftentimes be banned, even though it was a really great book. This is the book I was talking about, Freak Boy by Clark. So the lesson that I came up with was, after reading this book, students would be able to have a discussion about gender fluidity with their fellow students. And like I said, for each book that we discussed, I also went through and created a lesson for each. The next page for my ePortfolio is about the family literacy backpack. This was my favorite activity that we did, partly because we were actually able to give our lessons and activities to a student, and they were able to complete them, and it was great because we were able to see how a student was affected by our teaching strategies, and it was good for me to see what I needed to improve on in the future. So my directions weren't as clear as I wanted them to be, and so it was really a great learning activity. The theme for my literacy backpack was giving. I found 3 books. The first was The Rainbow Fish, second was The Giving Tree, and other was Faith the Cow. All 3 of these went along with my theme giving, and there were activities that went along with all 3 of them that the students had to complete. Some of them were activities where they were writing, others they had to draw something, and the last activity they actually had to give 3 things to people, whether those things were actions like a hug or an encouragement or something like giving somebody a pencil that needed it or giving out food to the homeless. They needed to physically give something and then document that process. Here is the PDF that I submitted for my family literacy. This is the form that they gave us. My family completed all of my activities. They didn't give me a lot of feedback. They said that they really enjoyed everything, and they didn't give too many critiques. This is the first activity where they had to draw how giving made them feel. And these are the last 2. One, they had to create their own giving tree. They wrote things that they could give to others on leaves and pasted them onto a tree that I provided. And then the other one was them documenting those 3 things that they had to give to people after they read the book Faith the Cow. And the one thing that I felt I could really do better was explaining the journal that I included. The family had the child complete the journal when I meant for the adults who helped the child, I wanted them to complete the journal. So I'll just make sure that my directions are a little bit more clear and concise when it comes to those directions. The next page in my ePortfolio is my virtual library. In this library, we included 3 books from 8 different genres that I personally read over the course of this semester. I really enjoyed this assignment and I found it to be very nostalgic because I was able to read and reread some books that I read in my childhood, and it reminded me how much I really enjoy reading for pleasure. Oftentimes as adults we get caught up with only reading what is assigned to us in either our work life or our school life, and I think it's important to enjoy reading and read things that you want to read and read things that you think are fun, and also reading things that are a little bit outside your comfort zone that you think are interesting, because you might end up reading or discovering a new genre that you wouldn't have thought of before. The next is about the Family Learning Conference. And this one, oh, give me just 1 second. So in the Family Learning Conference, we helped out at an event where children were able to come from different schools and meet authors who came to discuss their books. The author that I was escorting was Janae Noonan. She was a great inspiration for young girls because she is an MMA fighter along with a author, and she is really about building up kids and making sure that they have positive messages in their lives about chasing their dreams and also keeping children safe. She also runs an organization that helps teach young girls and women about self-defense, which is really interesting. So this is what I presented for my family learning conference reflection, and This is the author that I was talking to you about, and here's a student reading her book Dream Chaser. So this was really cool to see and to meet authors of these books that we've been reading about and learning about, and it was really fun to see how excited the students were to meet these people. And the last thing I have is some extra resources that I've come across during this semester. The first is from the first author that I did my presentation on. This is a great website, especially to help empower young girls and children in general. The second is from that same author, and it's the website called A Little Zen for Little Ones. This helps to teach the practices of Zen and meditation to children. These are big concepts that are sometimes hard for children to understand, and this helps to give them information and techniques about living in the moment. And the last one is the Scholastic website, and I found that they had a lot of tools and a lot of information, and I went to this website a lot to help get information for different themes when I was trying to think of lessons and information about that. They had a lot of really useful information that teachers have shared and others have shared to help teachers present children's learning in a fun and informative way. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this presentation. I hope that you enjoyed it and you learned a little bit about my journey here through children's literature. I learned a lot about how important it is to have literature in all aspects of the classroom. Reading really is a key to success for students, and getting them excited about reading and encouraging them to read more and more often is super important as a future educator. Thank you so much.